I've been trying to really live in the present in my daily life lately. And when I wake up in the morning and try to stay present, if I can do that for a few days and get in the habit. I mean, one of the other things in the last bunch of years I got into was like backpacking trips. So going to like Kings Canyon and Sequoias. There's a magic to living carefree that's super awesome. As you go on and like friends die and shit because of those things, it isn't so awesome. The last bunch of touring we did for the Destroyer record, I did it pretty much sober. Like I didn't go sober, like I would maybe have like one beer after the show, and I really enjoyed it.
Welcome to the Collaborative Resource Hub by Wellness Provisions. Our mission is to bridge the gap between mental health, wellness, and music, specifically rock and roll. I'm Amy McBride, owner of Wellness Provisions, the most badass wellness business. Wellness Provisions supplies rock and rollers with high-quality supplements. We give you a trustworthy place to go where you can essentially shop blindfolded. Our wellness kits were created out of a need to simplify your shopping experience and make it stress-free. You'll get the most effective nutrients in the least amount of bottles with the least trial and error. Immerse yourself in the Collaborative Resource Hub by going to our website where you'll have access to helpful resources that can nudge you in the right direction. Let's inspire each other. If that guy did it, so can you. Find the Collaborative Resource Hub interviews on YouTube, all major podcast platforms, and subscribe to our newsletter to stay in the loop. Last but not least, my legal disclaimer: nothing in this interview or the Collaborative Resource Hub substitutes medical advice. Please connect with your GP if you need medical guidance. Stephen, thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to talk to you and hear your perspective on things in your life.
Right on. Thanks for having me.
So you have two groups, Black Mountain and Pink Mountaintops, which I have some Black Mountain stuff, but I hadn't heard of Pink Mountaintops before. So I was listening to you guys recently and I was like, oh, I like this. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, both bands started at the same time, and I guess one falls under the solo project Dictator guys and one's more of a rock band.
Yeah. How would you describe the bands to someone who has never heard them before, like musically?
I mean, Black Mountain's pretty much classic rock. I'd say Pink Mountaintops is a rock and roll band.
So shifting gears, was there like a time in your life when you realized that you needed to make yourself a priority? Otherwise, like you just weren't going to keep keeping on?
Yeah. I feel the last 4 or 5 years have been a pretty motivational in that, where I actually moved forward and finally did certain things where, even when I was younger, I'd always fluctuate between like positive living and then negative, destructive living. I think like a lot of people, when you're mixed up in heavy metal and punk rock, there's a real, destructive element that's also very fascinating and very, it's beautiful. There's a magic to living carefree that's super awesome. As you go on and like friends die and shit because of those things, it isn't so awesome. But there's also a mystique to that kind of. I was watching the new Shane MacGowan documentary that just came out.
Oh, really?
Really good. I mean, there was one like 15 years ago where in that one he looked like walking death. This one he's like, well, he's in a wheelchair, so he's like rolling death. But I mean, his I don't know if he had a stroke or what happened, but his wit and his mind is totally there. And there's a lot of stuff I didn't know about like his upbringing, as far as being like, he's definitely the real deal.
Yeah.
As far as like, the whole growing up in a Irish countryside with no heat or hot water, and being fed Guinness or whatever at 6 years old. But there's definitely a romanticism to living not kind of on the edge of oblivion. There's also a bit of, going back to your question, the thing of touring a lot of this time off from crazy pandemic thing, like not playing. I started touring like 25 years ago or something, maybe more. So it's like I've at least played 50 shows every year, if not hundreds.
Yeah.
And then to just have that stop is like weird. And then also realizing like the amount of, I'm very grateful for everything, like music and whatever, all the people I've met through it and the people I work with and the, all the different aspects. But it's like, it's a very bizarre like lifestyle. Like it's very unnatural, and then there's things about it where you're prone to certain destructive behaviors or negative things. Like, I mean, it's that thing where you could be like, okay, I'm not gonna have a drink today before I'm gonna play this show straight or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're in Berlin or whatever, and you know, 5 of your friends from Berlin that you've met the last show, they show up, and it's like you go to the green room and it's a bit of a kid in a candy store. Like, oh, we have all this free alcohol. You have a drink, and then two, and next thing you got to wake up at 8 a.m. to make it to France or whatever.
Right.
But I did the last bunch of touring we did for the Destroyer record. I did it pretty much sober. Like I didn't go sober. Like I would maybe have like one beer after the show, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I found I was like playing better, and I don't know. It was like that thing where I wake up early and have a nice continental breakfast, or go to the gym in the hotel or whatever. And usually it's like you wait till the last second to roll out of bed. And
Yeah.
um,
What do you think allowed for that kind of like on that tour, that willpower or just like the desire to do it differently?
kind of commitment, just staying, and then and pushing past the fear, because there's also, I mean, it goes to that thing I'm talking about, what I was talking about with Shane MacGowan. Like there's a thing when you're playing live, and I mean there's so many variables with a show that can go right or wrong, from the sound to the electricity to the crowd to you to your health, all these different things. But when everything's coming together and there's this connection between the audience and the sound is good and the volume's just right, and maybe you had just a couple nice bourbons and you're just at that thing where like you're not, like you're like, I don't know, I've been trying to really live in the present in my daily life lately, and there's a thing where like those shows, like you transcend to, I don't know, it's like magic, and it's the thing that makes the other 23 hours of the day worthwhile.
Yeah.
When you're on the road.
I mean, you're in flow, so you're just like in inspiration and creativity. And it's just like, yeah, you're in flow.
Yeah, and there's other times where I'm playing where I'm literally like being like, I think tomorrow maybe that bag of chips might be good, like where I don't know, it's
Yeah.
every time. But I think it was the I had some, a friend that had also gone sober, and kind of being inspired of her doing that, kind of I'll try to do this too. It's, she was pretty instrumental in the last 4 years, like things like doing yoga and a bunch of healthy changes that, yeah, felt really good.
Yeah.
It was weird because we both partied really good too. Kind of in a similar way though, where it's like I could, like I never come home and turn on a hockey game and want a beer. If I didn't leave the house, I could go months without having a beer or a glass of wine. But then if I go out, it's kind of, I guess they call it binge drinking, where
Yeah.
it's like you're like it's go time. So to get away from that was nice.
Did you ever have any people around you, like other friends, who you felt like they made you feel weird for wanting to clean up and to be sober? Or, like, did you get any slack from anybody or support?
No, I mean, it's all like just support. There was like Arjon, who was playing in Black Mountain for that touring. Like he's sober, and I mean, there Los Angeles, there's a pretty big sober rock and roll collective group. I mean, to be honest, any of the peer pressure, any of those things that would come at me were from my own thoughts in my own head. Like I've never really run into someone being like, it's just in the brain.
Yeah, yeah. Like your ego just, making a shitstorm for you.
yeah, it's probably me wanting to create an excuse to have a drink or a cigarette or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also pretty lucky where, like I say, I can go without having drink forever, and then I could also like, what's up, Grandma? That's Grandma, the cat.
The cat's name is Grandma.
Abigail and Grandma, the
Aw,
King Diamond cats.
cute. Mine are named 33 and 78, my two cats.
Oh, after
Yeah.
records.
Yep, there was 33's littermate brother was named 45, but he died.
Aw,
So now I just have 33 and 78. No 45.
aw, cute.
What kind of like, I guess, do you do meditation or practice mindfulness? Like what kind of stuff do you do that keeps you on the level?
Another thing I kind of discovered in the last 4 years was the Marshall Rosenberg book, his nonviolent communication,
Okay.
which is I guess came from the late 60s, early 70s, kind of, it's kind of a little bit new age and whatever. He later became like a peacekeeper where but he started out, he would do, I guess he would do like negotiations between student unions and the police, like in the late
Yeah.
60s, demonstrations and stuff, or lots of different things. And it's like learning empathy and self-empathy. And I guess a lot of maybe like nurses that work in psych wards and stuff like that might have studied it. And it's understanding people's feelings and needs. And yeah, it's a really interesting book. It made me understand another thing that relates back to like being on tour is you're in a bit of a bubble of it's of how sometimes you can treat people, whether it's bandmates or like I kind of adopted because I'm generally like, I'm better now, but when I was a teenager I was like painfully awkwardly shy, where a good example is like my 17th birthday, I heard my roommates putting a cake together, and they were going to come down the hallway to my bedroom and sing me happy birthday, and I sensed this and heard them, so I jumped out the window and like hid under a car.
Oh no.
It's fine. But I don't know, just whatever, for whatever reason, painfully shy. So then it was like when you're on tour, you're always, you show up somewhere and you have to meet people that work at the club, or so I kind of adopted this persona that was maybe more outgoing. And but then you can also be really short with people because you're not eating when you want to, you can't go to the bathroom sometimes when you want to, and you're exhausted. And so it's like understanding different what your needs and feelings are, and not taking offense to not getting the response you want from someone when where it's like, definitely when I was a teenager or whatever, before I was my go-to was go fuck yourself.
Right.
That was my, like probably many people, like, then you're like, oh, and you also don't know, like, what a person may be, you could have an interaction with a bank teller, all these, and you don't actually, their parents could have died 10 minutes before you walked into the store, and then you're like, fucking hurry the fuck up and then go fuck yourself. Or
Yeah. No, it's true. I mean, because it's having compassion, because just like whatever you're going through shit, or like you're hungry or you're tired or you got to pee or whatever, that person who you're dealing with, they have their own set of, crap that they have to compartmentalize in order to communicate with other humans.
Yeah, and I learned a lot from that. And just also like, especially this last whole bunch of years with like, well, the pandemic, like the whole George Floyd uprising and stuff, Trump versus Biden, Bernie Sanders, like, and like humans are always going through, like, there's always been like historically like insanely bad things happening to the planet, to animals, to humans and stuff. It's like, but 1,000 years ago, there may be a famine 100 miles away where the whole village dies, but you don't know because you don't have an iPhone. You're not locked into this constant barrage of, and like even the thing when like Trump got like booted off Twitter, I was like, this is like, whether you're right wing or left wing, and I don't subscribe to those things. I think they're dividers, but
Yep.
that was such a good thing. And I don't believe in censorship either, but like, but for the world's mental health, like that was, I was like, oh, there's actually like, that's going to bring at least some calm, you know. But just trying not to pass judgment, and then like have, like I say, like empathy. Things go so fast nowadays, you know. There's definitely people that are I'm not gonna say human garbage, but there's people that are, you know what I mean, like. But then there's also people that have maybe had, you know, like, I think like you learn your, like I had, like, even though when I was a kid they were super strict, my, you know, I had very loving parents, that there was a thing, even when we didn't get along, probably in the back of my mind or in my heart, that they're not gonna like let me starve to death or something.
Right.
And there's other people that have had like super shitty childhoods, or super, you know, alcoholic parents, or I don't know, been in the system, or all that, you know. I mean, there's so many things that stay with you. Your grade school teachers, like, there's some teachers that I remember that were like amazing. Like, there was one, Mr. Aline, that seemed like 20 years later I'd be driving by in an ambulance after having a heart attack and look out the window and go, oh, hi, Stephen. He wasn't, that's just an example of how he remembered me forever.
Yeah.
And there was other ones that like basically wanted to crush every kid's spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And I hated them, and it
Yeah.
destroyed school for me. And but then I'm like, well, what happened to them? To like, I mean, my middle school band teacher was like horrid. I was like in a band in you know, my first band. We started in grade 6 and grade 7, and one lunch hour we decided to put on our own little concert in the band room, you know. And we're
Yeah.
like raging punk rock, or trying to be raging punk rock. And
Uh-huh.
you know, we're 13, and we're writing our own songs, and we're doing this show, and like they're actually like kids that didn't go to school didn't came to see us.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and the next class he like humiliated me in front of all the other students. And it's like, wait a sec, like, aren't, like, I'm, you know what I mean? It's like, go fuck yourself.
You're playing music like on
Yeah.
your own accord in a music room. That's awesome. Like,
I mean, he was a, you know, classical music snob, and he was probably very sad that he, you know, didn't end up in the Philharmonic Orchestra. And now he was teaching these kids that were playing, I guess at the time it would have been like the Chariots of Fire theme, and it was probably this heinous cacophony, out of tune noise that probably drove him mad. So like, looking back, I can have the empathy for like, just like, oh God. It's like when I walk into Guitar Center and there's like, I'm like, oh, like, there's shredders over here and this over there, and like, oh my God, like how can you work in here? Can't everyone just jam, like at least on like smoke on the water at this time? I don't know. But yeah, that's part of the nonviolent communication, is people's needs and feeling. And
having perspective.
yeah, like I say, like like I say, like not hearing what you want to hear, and then it's like, well, that's, you know, your needs and all that are different than mine. So it's like, and that's fine, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And then having patience and forgiveness, with yourself is huge too. Yeah.
That's one of their thing first, is when you have a moment with someone where you're like, oh my God, that person really just pissed me off. To give them empathy and analyze them, you have to first have self empathy. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
this is, I'm not saying this is truth, but but it makes sense, because I was like riddled with guilt and like forever, like whatever, like, you know, oh, it's got to be me, like it must be me that's the total monster fuck up, whether it's with my parents or whatever. I feel that's a big thing. Sorry to sidetrack, but with the pandemic now, it's weird. I went out for my first backyard, like a few friends thing the other night, and everyone's there. You know, they've got their shots, and everyone's, it's still, but we're talking about like, some people be like, how have you been? Some people are like, I'm miserable, I'm lonely, I'm whatever. And other people, like, quite honest, I've been totally enjoying it. I'm not going to bars every night. I've been creative, blah, blah, blah. And then there's that thing where either how dare you enjoy yourself during this, but then also the thing of people knowing that everyone else is also probably going through like a lot of crap. Like the first 5 or 6 months of the pandemic for me I was pretty creative and positive and doing lots of things, hiking, and like a lot of people were at first buckling down and learning a craft and doing all these things. And then it's like when everything everything kind of opened up June or July here, then shut down again, then it was like this
defeated. Yeah, just like a defeated feeling.
But like not being people being afraid to ask for help because they know I'm drowning, but everyone else is. So everyone drowns instead of
right.
everyone, making a raft out of their shoes, tying them to, I don't know. You know what I mean, though? It's like, so I don't know. It's
yeah, I guess it's the idea that someone thinks recognizing that everyone is also going through the same shit, and then why do I deserve help, or like, but that's still victim mentality, thinking that, you're not worthy, and it's more excuses instead of like, no, I deserve to feel better and I'm going to go after it this way. Yeah.
It's that thing. I get why it's like sometimes to just slip back to like, oh man, like I just want to get wasted and but then I don't know, because it's hard for some people. It's hard for me when I wake up in the morning and try to stay present. If I can do that for a few days and get in the habit, it feels great.
Yeah, but then you slip out of the habit.
Out of it, and the brain's just like it's going from the past to the future. What will happen? All changes. Oh my God, what if this? And it's like it's all out of your grasp.
Mm-hmm.
You can do things to. There's a good chance if I don't shoot heroin, I won't overdose on heroin. So, but there's things you can do, but it's like I mean, like even like like people die, other people don't die. I mean, everyone will die, but it's like like I don't know.
So when you wake up and
Right.
you're practicing mindfulness and being in the present,
Mm-hmm.
are there like mantras that you say, or like what does that look like for you?
I'll sometimes just say it over and over again. Stay present, stay present. And then I'll find something. I mean, there's so many things that humans do that I personally don't think are natural for our souls and
Like what?
well-being. Like certain things are like touring with GPS is actually like what probably creates way less stress on your body and heart than flipping through a road atlas and having to find a payphone, and then buying a calling card and like all these things. Like there's things like that, but then there's things where, I mean, one of the other things in the last bunch of years I got into was like backpacking trips. So going to like Kings Canyon and Sequoias for like longest one, we did 5 days and we did 6 days. So it's like 45 to 50 miles, and you got your pack. And going in the first time, where I've done lots of camping, but it's always camping where there's there's a toilet or there's a shower. Going in there and you've got everything, 35, 40-pound pack, and there's 4 of us. We had one person who was a dad that has done it since he was 20. So there's all these different things that I didn't even know. Or it's like, oh, I would have died of hydration or
Yeah.
But the calm of even just like, well, it's getting dark now. It's Mother Nature is telling us to go to sleep. And now Mother Nature is waking us up at 6:45, and you're like, get out and stretch, and you got your little thing. You make your oatmeal out of your bear canister, and we would do like 5 miles would be a short day, 10 miles would be a long day, and there's some where there's a lot of elevation and others, but I feel like all these things where you're actually connected to the earth in some way.
Yeah, really grounding, and like it resets your body.
I think that's really important. And even this whole other pandemic thing, but cooking for yourself every day, like it's like I think I did take out a couple times, but I got to this thing where okay, I'm not, because I would always be like buy groceries and then maybe I'll cook breakfast, but I'll go out instead. Then I was like, oh, my tomatoes gone fucking bad. And now my avocado, I'm like, so I'm like, I'm not gonna waste, like, if I can get through a bag of greens without them fucking wilting, like I'm making progress as like a human.
Yeah, it's true though, because the easy way out is going out for food. And like that's another like form of commitment and dedication, is like taking whatever amount of time to fucking cook yourself an awesome meal.
Yeah, and it's like even like the whole leftover. It's, you can throw some weird like, okay, this is kind of Italian Mexican burrito. Yeah,
So what does eating healthy look like to you?
definitely greens and all that. I mean, definitely from like there was like I don't know if it was memes or a website of like, what was it, photos of sad dudes ordering salad. Where you're like, no, if you want fries or salad with that,
Oh.
like salad. Then
Yeah.
someone else is like, I'll get fries, and you're like, I want fucking fries too. Sorry, I'm swearing so much.
That's okay. I don't fucking care.
I think that's it's a healthy thing sometimes. But yeah, definitely the greens, and I'm kind of a really good breakfast cook. Good at that.
Like what? Breakfast burritos, French toast, like what?
Kind of all that. Really good at omelets. Can flip the omelet, because I used to work in kitchen, so I can crack a bunch of different. I used to be able to do, was it 4 eggs at a time? I can do
Really?
different.
What?
Yeah.
How often did you get shells in with the eggs?
I got pretty good at it. It was a long time ago. It was actually from making the French toast batter.
So do you like your omelet like where the omelet is cooked on both sides? Or do you cook it on the one side, and as the, facing up starts to kind of congeal, then you'll put the toppings in and then fold it? How do you
I like doing like a little bit. Well, do the bottom, and you use the spatula to get the egg each going under, and then do like one flip,
Okay.
but like not very long. But you can also do the thing where you put the toppings on top and then broil it, and then
Oh.
it totally puffs up like quiche.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
That sounds cool. I hate it when like the inside is still runny. Like that's gross.
Yeah. Yeah, try the broiling one. It's cool.
I should. Next time I make an omelet. Yes.
The tomatoes, and if you put like spinach or kale on there, a nice broiling job on it. Yeah.
Perfect. Do you take any supplements?
I'm like bad with the supplements, but I have been trying to get better with. I've been taking bromelain for my bad back. That's
Okay.
actually okay now, but it's tweaked around. And then I've been kind of a chronic migraine sufferer my whole life. So there's been magnesium, feverfew, niacin sometimes. I'll go through stages of that. My mom's really good at it. When I go to her place, they've got like the weekly pill,
Oh yeah.
the fish oil, and I might try to them, but I never take them every day as I should.
Yeah. Because if you're not taking them every day, you're essentially not taking them at all, because they will never amount to anything. I mean,
They
but
better
like,
for you.
yeah, you got to take it every day. Although like bromelain, like if your back was sore, I mean, you could do it like, kind of like mega dosing it until your back is better. You wouldn't have to take that every day, but like, yeah, like magnesium would be good every day. Fish oil would be good every day.
What is with the pineapple and backs?
So, um, yeah, it's good for just inflammation support.
Okay.
I mean, that's the biggest thing. A lot of people will also use different enzymes for digestive support, and sometimes bromelain is in those formulas as a plant-based enzyme. But it's really, really good just for inflammation support primarily, and works good in conjunction with like, I used to work at Whole Foods for a very long time, and there was a doctor in town, and a lot of people came in with their like little piece of paper, like pre-post-op recommendations from this doctor, and it was a homeopathic formula for like with arnica in it for like bruising and, you know, swelling and healing, and then bromelain was on the list as well.
Huh.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
It was actually my mom that suggested it the first time a bunch of years ago. She'll like send me like a weird like rub on, like, would it be like vitamin A on your wrist or me?
It could be. I mean, probably E though, but like for what?
I don't know, something that absorbs into your skin.
I mean, technically everything absorbs into your skin.
Can't remember.
But E is a good antioxidant. A lot of people use it for like helping with like healing scar tissue, dissolving scars, that kind of thing. A is really good for wrinkles and aging skin.
So if you're not taking them every day, but just sometimes, I don't mean this to sound rude, but they kind of go right through you, and you'll go to the bathroom and be very bright.
Yeah.
If you're taking them every day, that stops.
So I'll answer it this way. Like, there are some supplements that will go right through you. So like your urine would be like brighter color from like B vitamins typically, which is just like, B's are water soluble. So like in formulas, there's always like a shit ton more than there needs to be, just because everyone's levels are different. So they give you more than you need. Plus it has to do with their like synthetic sources, so your body doesn't absorb them as well. But if you get like a food sourced B vitamin, for example, the dosage is going to be less because you're actually absorbing all of it. But again, like, yeah, that's from just water soluble excess. But then there are some supplements that literally will pass through you whole. Tablets, like just shitty quality, you know, like from like a regular drugstore kind of like supplements in tablet form, often do not break down at all. So there's that as well.
I mean, that's kind of like that when someone may take like a conscious decision to, like when I was even like, okay, I'm trying to drink, I don't know, like 4 liters of water a day. Once you get in the cycle of doing that, your body absorbs it.
Here's an advert in less than 20 seconds. Did you know that Wellness Provisions offers one-on-one wellness sessions? Yep. So if you're seeking to get healthy and ahead in life, but feeling a little stuck, then book a session and let's get you unstuck. Now back to the interview.
Also, I go between the argument in my head of human beings being beautiful creatures versus some people are like, human beings are instinctively terrible and blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, I don't know, sometimes like human beings get like a bad rap. Like there's like amazing things that,
but it comes from like your perspective, because if you stay in the mindset of like, people are fucking awesome, people do really good things, there's compassion and there's kindness, then that's what you're gonna see, right? Yeah. So then like, if you're like, man, fuck that guy, he cut me off, and that person, you know, what an asshole, then like those are the things you're gonna see. So it all comes from our perspective.
Yeah. Constant learning process.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's always like, it's course correcting, you know, like when you notice yourself slipping up, just refocus and keep going forward.
Is that a Black Angels record behind you?
Yeah. I got a few of them.
Oh yeah, I recognize the spine. I've got that same spine on my shelf.
Yep. And then there's that.
Nice. You're in North Carolina?
Yeah, in Wilmington.
How far is that from Asheville?
5 hours, 5.5.
Okay.
So like
played there lots.
Yeah, probably at what are the top venues there? The Gray Eagle, I think,
Great
and the
Eagle.
Orange Peel.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Great Eagle numerous times.
that's
Actually,
awesome.
Pink Mountaintops and the Black Angels played there together.
Cool. Yeah, like most bands don't come through Wilmington. We're just on the coast, so it's like a beach town. I'm like 3 miles from the beach.
From the Atlantic?
Yeah.
Nice.
So, do you have any final like thoughts or advice that you would want to bestow upon someone that you'd like to just be like, hey, listen up?
I don't know, just, follow your heart. It's weird because music, essentially, when I was a kid, was an escape for me. Slowly, it became, I mean, I guess now it's a career. I mean, I feel I was a bit lucky, like that, like I've been in bands my whole life, since I was 13. But then it's weird when it becomes your whole life. You're like, this used to be my escape, now it's my life, and I'm wanting to escape from things. Like, there's sometimes where, like, I mean, this sounds really whiny, but like, I'll open up my inbox and there'll just be all these emails of taxes and all these different things that I get, and I was like, I'll just want to cry. It's like, I just want to be a dishwasher. Not really whining about it, but I don't know, just, I mean, follow your heart. That documentary on Shane MacGowan, like he's one of those people that, like, I think there's songwriters that try really hard, that, I mean, apparently, like, Leonard Cohen took like 5 years to write the Tower of Song, apparently. I mean, the lyrics seem so off the cuff, but they're so perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know if it was 5 years every day, but and there, I imagine Shane MacGowan could sit down at pub with a bunch of pint and write "Dirty Old Town" on a napkin. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's no formula. There's no process. If people tell you there is, don't listen to them. If you just follow your heart, and if you write a song, and basically, like, I mean, my whole thing is like, I want to write a new song so I can hear a song I've never heard before, and it's from the initial inspiration of the song that could either be a riff or some chords and some mumbling to, I mean, sometimes they do write themselves in 10 minutes, but I'll sit on my porch and I'll listen to that over again. It's so exciting. The first thing, and then it's weird because then you rehearse it with a band and you record it professionally and all these things, then eventually you share it with people, and which is another weird thing of, I don't know, it's hard because I think a lot of people that are attracted to any kind of art or music or whatever are kind of sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to have, like, I guess if you stay present or not thick skin or whatever, because sometimes it's, yeah, I mean, you can work on a record for 3 years and it's your pride and joy, and then it comes up, it sucks. And the only time I ever get miffed by, like, reviews is when the reviewer discovers my secret and makes fun of it for that.
Like
So
what?
like, I mean, like, so if it's weird because you write some songs and then you usually have, like, it's kind of like starting a family, but like, so then you have, like, 3 to 4 that kind of, they're connected to each other, and you're like, oh shit, I'm gonna make an album now, and that keeps influencing the next writing process and the sonics and all those different things. And there's usually, like, either a book you're reading or other bands you're listening to or different things that have influenced. It's just something into you that's really heavy, that's being your muse for this record. And
Yeah.
when someone's like, oh, it sounds like Steve McBean's been listening to way too much Spaceman 3 on this record, this sucks. when they nail, like, I don't know, some specific, you're like, oh.
Damn you.
Yeah, it's weird. There's kind of like a running musician's joke about touring Germany and the bluntness of the German fans. There's so many, like, it's kind of that thing where, like, you could have been on tour for like 3 weeks. You're exhausted. You may have diarrhea, all these different things. Who knows? Some, and it's 95% of the time it is a middle-aged male. You can see him standing there standing there and he's waiting. He's staring right at you, and he's very stoic, and he's got to tell you something. Excuse me, Mr. McBean. I'm like, oh fuck, here it comes. And he's like, why is the new record so shitty compared to the old one? Like, it's so weird. But it's definitely like a running touring musicians. I mean, but it's just this weird bluntness. It varies in different degrees. I mean, even in, like you say, like even in the States, versus Canada, there's all social norms.
Yeah.
Way people communicate, but the German critic is definitely.
So when you want a reality check in with some Germans, and they'll tell you what's up.
Yeah, exactly. Send your stuff to some German reviewers.
Do you have a favorite quote?
I do. There's a bunch, but I can't remember the record, but it's Nina Simone, and she's doing a cover of Where Is All the Time Gone? The Sandy Denny song Fairport did. She's kind of just riffing, rambling, how she's kind of just sitting there being like the coolest human like ever. Who knows where the time goes? Sorry, that's the name of the song. I can't.
Okay.
Forgot that. And she says, you use up everything you've got trying to give the people what they want.
That's good.
And that's kind of similar to what way cooler sounding, but what I, would maybe say to like a young musician, but I would also tell them like, don't listen to me.
There you go. But yeah, it's true. Like, you have to just make yourself happy. There's always going to be haters, and you just have to make yourself happy because you have to live with yourself at the end of the day.
Yeah. And I mean, like, as much as with the live concert performance, the recorded thing too is like, and it goes back to the not having empathy for someone, but whatever I've had records that I've listened to a bunch that I've only been like, yeah. And then one day it just floors me. And it's like because of what happened to me that day. So it's like the listening experience is so intertwined with like a million different variables.
Very true. That's super true.
I still don't know why people I only like the first record.
Because they keep telling themselves that.
It's funny because like our record that's the least favorite with most people, I'd say Wilderness Heart is probably the record of ours that people like the least. But that record has 2 or 3, I'd say especially 2 of everyone's favorite songs.
Interesting.
So 2 songs in there that people are always really excited to hear live or yelling out or whatever as a whole piece.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel the same way about that record too. But,
Well, at least it's not a German reality check for you then. You're already at peace with it. Well, cool. Thank you, Stephen, for this was a fun chat. Lots of different directions. And I'm going to look up the book that you mentioned as well. I want to read that. So that's going to be next on my list.
Right on. You too.
Thank you. And I will talk with you later.
Okay. Take
Bye.
care. Bye.
Can you do that dance? 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 Come here a little closer to me. Come here a little closer to me. I got a secret that I need to tell. I got a secret, think you're looking well. Oh my, 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 my. Oh my, 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 my.